Ignition sequence starts. 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0. Liftoff. We have a liftoff.
Hey everybody, this is the Digital Asset Investor, and why did I not get a new computer earlier than I did? This thing, I'm traveling at the speed of light. I'm in XRP speed now, the way this thing's rolling. I'm able to do videos twice as fast, and I'm twice as efficient. Everything is cruising along perfectly, and I'm really enjoying it. Now, I wanted to let you know that my 7-year-old had a baseball game last night. The kid is now 12 for 12 in 4 games. This kid's batting 1,000 after 4 games. It's amazing what happens when you're very persistent in your training of a kid from a very early age. He's on what I call the Tiger Woods plan, where you start them when they're like 4 or 5 years old and focus them in on one sport. That's what he's doing. And he's almost a complete switch hitter now at the age of 7. Okay, and by the way, I just this morning, and I'm going to put pictures on Twitter here shortly. I decided to go all out. I'm smoking a brisket and a pork butt. You all voted on the brisket, and so I'm going to show you the pictures of the brisket. Ooh, it smelled good. I just wrapped it, and so when I took it off and wrapped the brisket just now, so. It was time to do a video, and I've already thrown baseballs to my sons this morning, so we are rolling. Now, there were 3 awesome names that were given to me this morning, and I'm about to give away 3 names. And by the way, I'm looking for I want an official Treasury Secretary of the Digital Asset Investor channel. And the reason I want that is I want someone who can advise us on the channel whether we should raise or decrease interest rates. I think I already know the answer to that. But from time to time, that would be your sole job as the official Treasury Secretary of the Digital Asset Investor channel, is just to tell me if we should raise or lower interest rates. It's so ridiculous what the federal government is doing right now that I thought it would be pretty funny to have one of those. Okay, here's the 3 names. First, the Joker wanted a name. The Joker is going to get the first name. The official trade minister of the Digital Asset Investor channel. The official trade minister of the Digital Asset Investor channel. So be it. And then we've got Dude Here at Dude Here 4. He asked for the official dad whose kids have listened to hundreds of Digital Asset Investor videos and like to sing along with the countdown in the intro, ... of the Digital Asset Investor channel. So be it. That is your name now. And then finally, Anthony Healy told me that he delivers, he's a DHL driver, and DHL is who has delivered my Ledger Nano S's when I've ordered them, and I'm sure they've delivered them to you too. So he said he delivers Ledger Nano S's all the time, so he is now the official DHL driver of the Digital Asset Investor channel. So think about that next time you see a DHL guy delivering your Ledger Nano S. He is the official DHL driver of the Digital Asset Investor channel. Now, let's get rid of those. Man, it must feel good, you guys. You got your titles today. Okay, from C3 Nick. Now, this situation is really heating up, folks, and you need to really be paying attention to it. I know I am. C3 Nick says, the current situation in the repo market is not a major issue right now. However, not knowing what caused it is the issue. Since the system is based on trust, this kind of uncertainty can cause an avalanche effect, which is why the Fed stepped in immediately. The New York, and then I think this is a quote maybe from an article. The New York Federal Reserve Bank said Friday it will inject billions into the U.S. financial plumbing on a daily basis for the next 3 weeks in an effort to prevent a spike in short-term interest rates. Folks, this is so similar to what happened when the financial crisis went off, and I'm going to show you a Glenn Beck video that you have to watch where he takes you through exactly what happened with Bear Stearns and some of these banks. This ought to terrify everyone what is going on right now. And I'm going to go further into this. Here is the article talking about this. New York Fed to pump $75 billion into money markets daily. They've extended this through October the 10th. Listen and listen very closely, folks. The New York Federal Reserve Bank said Friday it'll inject billions into the financial U.S. financial plumbing on a daily basis for the next 3 weeks in an effort to prevent a spike in short-term interest rates. They will offer up to $75 billion a day in repurchase agreements, exchanging secure assets for cash for very short periods through October 10th, it said in a statement. In addition, it will offer 3 14-day repo operations of at least $30 billion each. This next paragraph, you need to stamp into your memory. This is terrifying. Banks have struggled in recent days to find the cash needed to meet reserve requirements, which has pushed up short-term borrowing rates, prompting the New York Fed to pump billions into the U.S. money markets with repo operations the past 4 days. I'm going to repeat that. Banks have struggled in recent days to find the cash needed to meet reserve requirements. This should terrify everyone. The only thing that amazes me about all of this, I am dumbfounded that the Federal Reserve and governments of the world have been able to play this silly, ridiculous, scary, and criminal game for the past 10 years, because they have been playing games with the movement of money and robbing Peter to pay Paul, and playing like those guys on the streets of New York that play the shell game, and you can't ever find them. That's all that they've been doing, is playing a financial shell game for the last 10 years. They never fixed anything. And I've told you before, that clown Barney Frank, who claims he took the credit for fixing the writing Dodd-Frank, the legislation after the financial crisis. He's one of the guys that caused the financial crisis. They made those banks loan money to people who couldn't afford to buy homes. They made them do it for years, and it's not just a liberal thing. It's conservatives and liberals. George Bush was doing the same thing. He was pushing home ownership. They all did it. They're all guilty. And to watch those guys take credit and then act like they fixed it when they know damn well they didn't fix anything. All they've done is push this further down the road. But when the collapse happens, it's going to be worse than the financial crisis. It can't not be worse, because they've made it worse. But look at what the debt is today versus what it was before the financial crisis. It's almost double, or maybe worse than that. It is crazy what they've been able to get away with. And the only thing that blows my mind is that the financial system has not collapsed before now. Okay, let's go further into this. Ben at XRP is the one sent me this from Glenn Beck. Now, it's important for you to know, as we came out of the financial crisis, I listened to several people who were telling the truth. One was about the economy and the ridiculous games that were being played. Glenn Beck was one. Peter Schiff was one. There were 2 or 3 others, but I listened to a lot of people like this. I don't listen to Glenn Beck as much now. I think he kind of got a little too hokey for me. But every once in a while, I will see flashes of what he used to talk about, and when I do, I'll show it to you. But here he's on point. Newsweek would rather tell people that I'm crazy than report the once-in-a-lifetime fact that the Fed just announced that in the next 14 days, they will have pumped $1.4 trillion of cash into the banking system, basically 2 times the size of TARP. Continued. TARP was $787 billion, and the country was shocked and horrified. Today, the Fed does it overnight with next to zero credible reporting to the tune of twice the size, and no one even knows. TARP started the Tea Party. If a 2008 style event happens again, I fear for the Republic. Folks, collapse. We don't know what this collapse will look like. But one thing I do know is I'm happy to own digital assets, and especially XRP. Ed French at Ed French 12 sends us the video. Now, the video is from Glenn Beck's YouTube channel. It's called Another Coming Recession. Federal Reserve funds banks billions. Market is broken. For those of you that want to understand the way the financial crisis unfolded, just a short, it's about 18 minutes, the way it happened and how it relates to what is being done in these articles that we're going over right now, go watch this video. He goes through the whole thing. It's great. And then Peter Schiff weighs in. No matter what they call it, QE is back. The Fed's balance sheet jumped by $75 billion to $3.845 trillion in the week ending 9/18. This is just the beginning, as whatever the Fed decides to call QE 4, it will be a much larger and more destructive than QEs 1, 2, and 3 combined. Buy gold. Well, two things I would say here. He says, this is as much whatever the Fed decides to call QE 4. That is, what's funny about that is that is all that this is. You've got a bunch of bureaucrats and people who've spent their entire lives in government or at a university, and they're sitting in a room and they're coming up with these stupid terms that they can try to sell to the public. Quantitative easing was one of them, QE and all this. They come up with these BS terms to go out and try to sell to all of us as if we're going to buy this BS that they're selling, when all it is printing money and destroying the value of the dollars in your pocket is what it is. But they just come up with these, they think that they're smarter than you and I. And so they think if we come up with some BS term that we can sell to the public, that they'll all fall for it. And maybe we can bail out all of our friends and we'll call it, maybe we'll call it TARP. That sounds sophisticated, right? Well, this is all they do. I also want to point this out. Buy gold. I agree with Peter Schiff. Buy gold, buy silver, buy digital assets, buy Bitcoin, buy XRP. All of the above, folks. He's right. Okay. And next, Sergeant Obi-Wan at Sergeant Obi-Wan also sent this. This was a reply to a series of tweets. This person, Arnie, says, I'm going back through the articles. We're at $278.2 billion this week. And after next week, our total should be at least $713.2 billion. And he took this picture from Zero Hedge where they outline the amount of money that more or less is being printed. And then here's the other video you got to watch from NBK Crypto. Sent me this one. This is from Real Vision Finance. Will central bank liquidity be the next recession catalyst? Exactly. Go and watch this. This is brilliant, a brilliant video as well. Okay, then Mr. B at XRP Mr. sent me this. Let me give my chart disclaimer. I'm not a chart guy. I just thought this was an interesting tweet, so I decided I would share it with you. RIP to the people who got faked out by the XRP retest. Roughly the same length of accumulation between cycles, which is going to produce a massive bull run. Fractals have always been one of my favorite parts of trading, and fractals are everywhere in crypto. And this, if you blow this up, this shows you 2017, and he's showing this similar pattern to the months leading up to when things took off in 2017 and the way it is now. And so he's showing that these are similar patterns. So, okay, moving along. Now listen, folks, I've covered this article before, but many of you, the Digital Asset Investors official neighbor, sent this and asked me if I had seen this yet. And I had covered it on my channel before, but the fact that he had not seen it until now means that a lot of you have not seen it until now. It is one of the most fascinating articles ever written on Ripple or XRP. From Ian Northing. Anyone who has any hesitation of what you invested in, take the time and read this. All connected and very connected to everything and everyone. The one and only XRP. This article is called The Ripple Mafia. And maybe the word mafia has a bad connotation, but I will tell you this. That's what it feels like, folks. It's always felt that way to me. I've always looked at what Ripple has done and the people they've been able to meet with. And I've always said, and I've told you on this channel, it defies logic that one company, which as of yesterday was 7 years old, could do the things they've been able to do and meet with the people and gotten in the doors with the people that they've been able to do. It speaks to who they are, how smart they are, what they're doing, how important the technology is. We're in the right place at the right time in 3 lifetimes, folks. here's the article. And I'm not going to read the article, but I want to scroll through here and just show you a couple of things that just jump out at you. Talk about the PayPal Mafia. They get to these guys and they show you the people. These are people involved in Ripple. And I'm not going to be able to I'm not going to give you their names, but I've looked into this before. First, you've got Chris Larson, who he and Brad Garlinghouse have been all over the place with the IMF. We already know that. You've got Susan Athey. Now, Susan Athey is a professor at Stanford in the graduate school. She went to Duke. She's connected all over the place. They're saying with the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation. You got this guy. I can't remember his name, but you can find it on their website. I believe he was an advisor to one of the presidents. I can't remember which one. I think this guy's name's Gene Sperling, and I'm pretty sure he was an advisor to Clinton and Obama. You got David Schwartz, who worked at the NSA before coming to Ripple. Okay. Now, I want to mention one thing that has nothing to do with this article that I'll tell you. What are the chances of this? Susan Athey has a cousin who lives in my town. I've talked to him about Susan Athey. His son is on my 7-year-old's baseball team, and I will even show you a picture of the back of his jersey. It says Athey on his jersey. One day I'm going to post that on Twitter and say, guess whose nephew this is? It's her nephew, or not nephew. She's the cousin of the guy that I know whose son is on my team. So, but what are the chances of that? I mean, I'm in South Georgia, for crying out loud. And then as you go along, they show connections to the Bilderberg group, the Federal Reserve, Santander. You've got Bill Clinton that has spoken at one of Ripple's conferences. Ben Bernanke. See, I'm in an awkward spot when it comes to Ripple being, in my opinion, the chosen one in XRP, because I'm kind of a hybrid of a Bitcoin maximalist and an XRP guy. I realize, trust me, I understand all of the thought patterns of the anarchists that are Bitcoin people. I get it. It's just that I'm also an investor. I want to change my children's lives. And so I'm with XRP, not because I agree with all these central bankers and bankers that Ripple works with. I can't stand what they've done. But I'm also not naive enough to believe that any government, the powers that be are going to let Bitcoin take over the banking system. Not going to happen. I'm with XRP because I know how the world works. I'm 45 years old. I wasn't born yesterday. Okay. Good. This is a definite read, folks. You got it. Just go Google the Ripple Mafia and you will get this article. It's from Smart Options. Okay. XRP Crypto Wolf at the CME Group will launch Bitcoin options in Q1 2020. Based on increasing client demand and robust growth in our Bitcoin futures markets, the launch of options will provide institutional clients with flexibility to trade and hedge their Bitcoin price risk. So, as I've said before, every financial product that is in traditional finance will be in digital assets, and then they'll create a few new ones. Okay, and finally, from Jonathan D. at XRP_YD7, sent me this. It's a tweet from Ripple. Ripple's regulatory relations manager discussed the way forward in reshaping global transaction services, payment system design, and national and international regulatory systems with other financial and regulatory leaders. So this just shows more things going on. This is the Milken Institute, is a nonprofit think tank. I'm the digital asset investor. I'm not an investment advisor. This is for entertainment purposes only. Please subscribe and hit the like button and tell your friends and family that Georgia is going to beat Notre Dame like a drum tonight. Thank you for listening.